guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Hey guys, it's Michelle, and yes, there is something different here because I am using the webcam, which I don't generally use and don't enjoy using, really, to tell you the truth, because I end up looking at myself and I think, my gosh, who is that woman and why is she so strange? So anyway, I am using the webcam for the first time today. It is October 23rd and it's 7:54 p.m. There's a reason, because I am wanting in the future to move towards more interactive chats and so forth. And I mean, certainly do videos, but also do some interactive chats. So I guess I'm preparing myself for that, because if I can't handle this, then I probably can't handle that. I really promised myself I would never, ever, ever do webcam, but, well, you know, sometimes you gotta change. And if this is, you can let me know what you guys think, okay? Just let me know what you think. Either say, look, scrap the webcam because you're making me sick, or, you know, gee, I like seeing the webcam because I feel like I have more interaction with you. I can see your facial expressions and so forth. Whatever's on your mind, just don't be cruel. I mean, I know my hair's a mess, you know. But anyway, all right. Now let's get into the Q-related news. I'm happy because on this page, I can't see myself. You can see me, but I can't see myself. So you may catch me picking my nose or something, thinking that you can't see me, and that would be very embarrassing. But anyway, let's move on. All right, now this is interesting. This is from Breitbart, and it says, report millions in food stamp dollars flowed to terrorists. Now, is that a surprise to anybody? Probably not, because we're hearing just more and more stuff happening all the time, and it does get stranger and stranger. Millions of taxpayers' dollars trafficked through food stamp fraud went to terrorists who funded their activities at home and abroad, according to an explosive report from the Government Accountability Institute, GAI. The report from GAI, where Breitbart News senior editor-at-large Peter Schweitzer serves as president, highlighted several instances where money obtained through Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, SNAP, benefits fraud went to fund acts of terrorism, including the 1993 World Trade Center bombings and the 2013 Boston Marathon bombings. Although this method of using food stamp fraud money for terrorism has been around since the 1980s, it gained notoriety when New York City detectives testified before a Senate subcommittee about the 1993 World Trade Center bombings. Detectives told the committee that $125 million in food stamp fraud had unwittingly gone to terrorist activities. One of the masterminds of the 1993 World Trade Center bombings, Mohammed Abu Halima, funded the attacks by operating a $1 million food stamp fraud scheme out of a video store in Brooklyn. But the U.S. government did not pinpoint how a lot of these terrorists used money from food stamp fraud to fund their attacks until shortly after the September 11th attacks in 2001. The U.S. Treasury Department and the U.S. Department of Agriculture's USDA Office of the Inspector General identified that many terrorists would get away with funding their illicit activities by using businesses known as hawalas to launder money. A hawala, which is an Arabic term defined in English as transfer or fund, is a method of transferring money through informal agents from international networks, and many Muslim immigrants settled in Western countries use the hawala method to transfer funds to family members. GAI, citing a U.S. Treasury report, found that more than $7 billion flows into Pakistan alone through hawalas every year. Now that's a lot of money, a lot. Because of the informal, simple nature of the transaction, the hawala method has also been popular among criminals and terrorists to launder money from the U.S. to the Middle East, Africa, and Asia without a paper trail. In one such instance, in 2015, federal agents discovered couriers for these hawalas networks traveling with cash-filled suitcases on flights leaving the United States for East Africa out of SeaTac Airport in Seattle. According to the report, the act of transporting the cash itself was not illegal, but it raised suspicion among federal authorities. One federal investigator analyzing the financial records of the hawalas found that 10 of the couriers working for those networks had been on federal welfare benefits. Investigators say it is very difficult to track the money moved around through hawalas, even though the federal government has known about the use of hawalas and their alleged role in financing terrorism for years. Now, this is very interesting because, well, wait a minute, let me just read this one thing first. In 2006, a judge sentenced a Chicago grocery store owner to more than 4 years behind bars for defrauding $1.4 million from the nation's food stamp program and using it to fund terrorist activities carried out by Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Now, I've been hearing about this for a long time, and I'll tell you when I first started hearing about this was I worked for a bank doing risk management, and this was back, it was before 9/11, so it was quite a few years ago. It's obviously in the States, and I noticed that a lot of the people that were doing kiting, and what kiting is you will deposit, you'll run up your credit card, and then you deposit a check. And what happens is you get a credit card with a very high credit limit, and you run it way up to the limit, and then you make a payment for your first payment on that to pay it off. Well, before that payment actually goes in, excuse me for a moment, I don't know why, as I've stated before, as soon as I start to talk, I start to cough. And yes, I know I should not be drinking Diet Coke. All right. Now, in the time that it took, now I think that they've closed this loophole, but it used to be that what would happen is it would take that payment as if it had been made, but then that check would bounce. Well, in the meantime, you've got a short amount of time where your credit card is stating that the balance is paid off because the check hasn't cleared yet. So most of these people use up the credit card limit 2 times, and all of these were foreign names. And I thought, what is going on here? And it was every bit as non-politically correct to talk about it back then as it is now. So nothing was ever done that I'm aware of, but I know that there was no way of tracking these people down. And that's what they do. They'd run up the credit card once, then they'd make a check payable to pay it all off. And in the meantime, they'd run it up again before the check bounced. Well, by the time the check bounced, if you had a $12,000 limit, you're in for like $24,000, and that's what they did. So I've been aware of this for a very long time, that they do this, and it was amazing to me because a lot of the big credit card bills that were in foreign names, and you know what kind of foreign names that I'm talking about without me getting really into the specifics. So I think that this thing is still going on and has gone on for a very long time. I used to wonder about that because I used to hear about people using food stamp money to get their nails done and all that, and I didn't understand how that could happen, because I'd say, well, I don't understand that, because how do you this is like to me, I always understood it as like an Interact card that you could go, and whatever you bought at the grocery store, it would deduct it from the card and you would be left with a balance. Well, I guess some people were apparently they would take that illegally and say that they were buying food or whatever, but they weren't. They were buying something totally different. So I don't know, but this is a huge loophole, and I just wonder if it's still happening. It obviously did in the past, and it's out in the news now. So I don't know. Have they closed that loophole or not? I don't know. I'm really hoping, if that's the case, that it has been. But I guess we will find out. Okay, now let me see here what this is. I've got a little bit of everything for you. It's a potpourri. It's a potpourri of news. All right. Now, Obama talked about himself a lot during Nevada stump speech for other candidates. Well, you don't say. Yes, that's what narcissistic people do. They talk about themselves a lot. Now, former President Barack Obama referenced himself 92 times during a Monday stump speech that was intended to promote Nevada Democratic candidates. And, and also you've got Obama going around now saying that, well, you just remember when the economic upturn started. Well, of course we remember. It's when President Trump took office. We all know that. He can take credit for whatever he wants. Nobody believes him, and very few people believe him. And that's quite obvious because they made the crowd look like it was a really nice, robust crowd, but it wasn't. It was very paltry. It was an anemic crowd. There might have been 200 people there, nothing compared to the hundreds, well, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands and thousands that Trump draws. And if they had a venue that would hold hundreds of thousands, he could pack it out, no doubt. Anyway, speaking at the University of Nevada's Las Vegas, UNLV, the former president stressed the importance of voting as a tool to change things about the country that once doesn't like, whether those things be politics or leaders. And I completely agree with him. We do have to vote to change so that people like him do not get in. And so I know he's speaking one way and wants people to vote Democrat, but I use it as a whatever, it's a good reason to vote Republican, to tell you the truth. As he spoke, Obama was flanked by U.S. Senate candidate Jackie Rosen, who is financing incumbent Republican Senator Dean Heller in a tight race. The gubernatorial candidate, Steve Sisolak, who has recently come under fire for allegations of domestic abuse. But whether he's calling back to answer shouts from the crowd, "I miss you too," he yelled back to one attendee, or reflecting on his past experiences on the campaign trail or in office, the former president appeared to spend more time talking about himself than about the candidates he was supporting on the stump, which is probably a good thing, because that the candidates don't want Trump they don't want Obama and Hillary talking about them, because they're like poison. So yeah, it's probably a good idea that he did talk about himself and didn't talk so much about the candidates, because it's probably worked out better for the candidates, but it would have been better for us if he had talked up the candidates, because then it's more reason for people to vote against those candidates. But whether he was, he mentioned congressional candidates Susie Lee and Stephen Horsford once each, Senate candidate Jackie Rosen 4 times, Kate Marshall, candidate for lieutenant governor, twice, and gubernatorial candidate Stephen Sisolak only once. But how many times did he mention himself? 90 some times? 92 times in 38 minutes. Well, there you go. He loves himself. He thinks he's grand. He takes himself out and he holds his hand. All right, now let's go back and see what other trouble we can get into with the news. And here is from Twitter, James Wood. Oh, and the spontaneous mob would have to walk 20 miles a day for 100 consecutive days without rest to get there. That's over 3 months, obviously. And yet, I guarantee they will all miraculously appear at our border right at midterm election week. And he's responding to his own tweet that said, so consider this. It is over 2,000 miles from Tegucigalpa, Honduras, to Phoenix, Arizona. Hard to believe a bunch of people just randomly decided to pack a lunch and walk 2,000 miles to anywhere. Where is this mob sleeping, using bathrooms, procuring food and water? Well, we know the answer to that, don't we? They're being carried on trucks, as we've seen. They're being paid, and this whole thing is being financed. So, yeah, it's now this is kind of, I like this. Trump to a reporter, you have to love Trump. Really, he just is the master troller. Now let's listen to this.
Any other questions? Yeah.
What evidence do you have that these are hardened criminals trying to come into the United States?
Oh, please, don't be a baby, okay? Take a look, okay? Just take a look. Look at what's happening. Look at the Mexican soldiers that are laying on the ground. Take a look. These are hardened, I didn't say in all cases, but in many cases, these are hardened criminals. These are tough people. And I don't want them in our country. And neither does our country want them in our country. Okay? Thank you all very much.
So you gotta love him because he says it like it is. You know, the reporter's asking, well, how do you know that there's criminals in this bunch? I mean, yeah, you only have to look at them flashing the gang signs. They just robbed some store in Mexico. I saw that on Twitter. These are not just all, sure, there's some families in there, no doubt about it, but it's a mixed group. And there's also people from other countries, not just Central American and South American, there that have been mixed in with the crowd that are trying to get in. Some of them are ISIS. That makes sense. You know, I mean, it's crossed my mind to go over into Mexico and walk across the border. Come on. Because right now I've overstayed my welcome in another country. I mean, because I am a U.S. resident and I'm living in Canada because my mother is elderly and I moved back to take care of my mother. And, you know, now it's making it difficult for me to get back into the States. So, yeah. That's the easiest way to get into the States is through the southern border. Everybody knows that. You ask anybody that knows immigration, they'll tell you that's the easiest way to get in. Now, you know, I'm saying it crossed my mind. I'm not saying I would do that. I have conducted everything above board in all my dealings with immigration up to this point and will continue to do so. So there you go. Anyway, now let's look at this. And this is Eric Trump bringing this to our attention. It is a very scary day for America when the House Minority Leader threatens to weaponize the legal system against political rivals using subpoena power. This is what they do in third world countries. Disgusting concept and a slippery slope that America wants no part of. Now, let's take a look at what he's referring to. And of course, it's Pelosi. Now let's listen to her. I'm sorry, I got to do this to you guys.
Subpoena power. And subpoena power is interesting. To use it or not to use it. It's a great arrow to have in your quiver in terms of negotiating on other subjects. But to getting back to what we will do is exercise oversight, which is the responsibility of the Congress of the United States, exercise oversight over the agencies of government, which this administration has completely walked away from. Look what's happening. Clean air, clean water, the EPA. Look what's happening in education. Well, the list goes on. So we will exercise our oversight.
Yeah. So they're losing power, and the only thing that they've got in their so-called quiver, is obstruction. That's it. They don't like anything that's happening in this country, and they want to obstruct. That's it. Why haven't we had any, why haven't we moved forward with immigration reform? Well, it's the Democrats. They're blocking reform because they want it all. It's our way or the highway. And if they can't get what they want, they obstruct, which is what they're doing. And nobody can tell me that they're not in some part responsible for this caravan which is no caravan at all, heading for the border. Now, let's go back to here, and this is Sarah Carter. Now, Sarah Carter has gone down. She's actually in Guatemala, I believe. Guatemalan intelligence discovered people from India, Bangladesh, Africa had also joined in with the caravan. I bumped into a number of young MS-13 gang members. At Judicial Watch, Chris Farrell and Guatemalan Secretary of Strategic Intelligence, Mario Duarte, on the border with me. So she is reporting from there, and I would assume that she's got a very close handle on what's happening because she's actually there, as opposed to the false news media telling you what they wish you to know. These people aren't all just people wanting a better life and jobs and so forth. And we know that anyway. I mean, it's not anything new to us. Now look at this. This is something interesting. And again, this is not something that is completely new, but it's something we all should be aware of if we're not. YouTube says EU copyright rules could see people banned from uploading videos and poses threat to way site works. Now, this is because they're talking about banning all memes in the EU, and it would be catastrophic for us and for them and for free speech in general. YouTube says that new EU copyright rules could force it to ban people from uploading their own videos. It says that the new directive puts its entire creative community at risk and that the new rules could drastically change the internet you see today. The comments from YouTube boss Susan Wojcicki are just one part of widespread outrage about the new rules, which campaigners have referred to as the meme ban. So one of the most controversial parts of the EU's new copyright directive, known as Article 13, will force major platforms like YouTube to scan through everything uploaded to them, and ensure that nothing in it includes copyrighted content. Campaigners argue that that could force companies to ban memes that use pictures or GIFs from existing media, and that it could damage the way that social networks operate. Opposition to the rules has united copyright campaigners and the major internet platforms, which have argued that it could undermine the very way the network works. Now, YouTube has spoken out in perhaps the most passionate comments from the tech industry yet. The company said that YouTube would be forced to stop allowing normal users to upload videos, instead concentrating them in the hands of a very small number of big companies. Now, you tell me that that's not what they want. They're saying, oh, we're alarmed about all this. Oh, we don't want this. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Because if they can concentrate those who are allowed to upload videos into the hands of, say, those who are approved, and you know that it would be no one who held conservative views that would be approved. We all know that. I mean, we're not living in Wonderland per se. We know that what they're telling us is reality is not our reality anymore. We do not have free speech. They will tell you we have free speech. We do not. We do not. And every day they're taking more and more and more of it. And I don't know. I'm hoping Trump does something about this. I'm really hoping, but it's alarming. I don't see any slowing down of this censorship. And that's exactly what it is. So who knows if that's what they really have planned all along, and they'll blame it on the meme ban, but really that's not what it'll be at all. Anyway, Ms. Wojcicki wrote the article. 13 threatens to shut down the ability of millions of people, from creators to like you to everyday users, to upload content to platforms like YouTube. In a letter written to the site's community of video creators, it threatens to block users in the EU from viewing content that is already live on the channels of creators everywhere, she wrote. The new rules also threaten hundreds of thousands of jobs, she said. The proposal could force platforms like YouTube to allow only content from a small number of large companies, she wrote. It would be too risky for platforms to host content from smaller, original content creators because the platforms would now be directly liable for that content. Article 13 is just one part of a sweeping set of copyright rules that proponents claim will help fight against the theft and reuse of videos and music. Another controversial part of the rules is Article 11, which will create a link tax and mean that sites like Google could have to pay to show a snippet of the websites they link out to. EU lawmakers have voted through the new rules, and their wording could be finalized by the end of this year. The directive is expected to go into force soon after that. So, I don't know. Everything is changing so rapidly, and who knows if a year from now we'll even be doing business as usual in terms of being able to get to YouTube content, and content from thinkers like myself and others that are conservative commentators, conservative researchers. Who knows if we'll even be around in a year, or if we will be rounded up and run off of all social media platforms. I don't know what's coming. I don't think, with what I see brewing, it's like when you see all these really dark clouds gathering and everything, something's coming, a storm's is coming, you're gonna get a bad storm and wind and whatever. That's what I see. It's hard not to prophesy and say this is what I see coming when all the clouds are here. So anyway, let's go on now. Okay, now this is something else that's interesting. Excuse me while I scratch my nose. No, I'm not picking my nose, I'm scratching it. There's a difference. All right. Now, second migrant caravan, new group rushes to join ranks, deportees vow return to America. So there's a lot of deportees in this group that say they have family in the States. Whether or not that's true, we don't know. There could be. As the massive migrant caravan pushes towards the southern U.S. border, a second group of around 1,000 people from Honduras is rushing to join the main group.
Well, we are in the town square of Tapachula. That's just
because I am hearing all sorts of different things, and I am hearing numbers, that range from a few thousand, and one recent one that I read said there were 42,000. 42,000, not 4,200, 42,000. Now, I don't know. All the time there are more groups coming, and now apparently the group started in Central America, in Honduras, and of course Guatemalans and some Mexicans joined in, some from other countries, but now we have a push up coming up from South America, and we have groups coming up from South America. Now, who's paying their way? Well, probably the same people, but this is, they're making sure that this is a huge humanitarian crisis. They are making sure that this is catastrophic. And to me, they're just making it worse and worse all the time because there's more and more people joining in. I don't know what they think is going to happen to them when they get to the border. Do they think that suddenly the United States is just going to open up with open arms and they're going to have plenty of food to eat, and they're going to all have jobs, and they're all going to have nice places to live, and they're all going to have health care, and I don't know why they would be under that assumption. But I think that that's what they think. And I think that that's probably what they're being promised by their overlords. That's at least the way I think, because nobody in their right mind would make a trek like that unless they truly believed that there was a promised land at the end of that trek. You're not going to, anybody. And of course, you think about some of these people are mothers with children, and mothers with children tend to act in the best interest of the children, or at least should. And you would think that a mother would not drag her children through that distance and that, horde of humanity without believing in her head that she was taking her children to a better life. So something has been promised to these people, evidently. So I don't know, but it's getting worse by the day. There are people joining the groups, and I don't know honestly where you're going to get the truth about what's really happening unless you listen to people that are actually there. And I'm not talking about Fox News. I'm not talking about CNN, obviously. Now, yes, Fox News better than CNN when it comes to fake news, but still fake in many ways. So I don't know. I don't know, but I do know that I believe some of these rumors that I'm hearing more than I'm believing some of the news stories. And I think that the horde of humanity pressing against our southernmost gate is massive, massive. And it's meant to be catastrophic. And to make matters worse, there's a hurricane bearing down on that area. So I don't know what's going to happen. And I pray that these people are safe. I don't wish them any harm whatsoever. These are people that are being manipulated. They are probably simple people. And I don't mean simple in, well, they're stupid or whatever. I mean, they're simple. They've probably got, their needs are probably much smaller than the needs that you and I have. And they're probably just wanting, most of them, some of them probably have been promised a better life and have been paid. And, I don't know. I'd be happy to hear what you guys think, because I've had many different thoughts about this. I know that it's being engineered. It's evident that it's being engineered, and it's interesting that it's coming right at midterms, of course. And of course, we're going to have the biggest crisis happening right at midterms. So that's interesting. So let's go back here. And this is interesting, and it's exactly what I would expect, and probably what you would expect as well. We've got Pope Francis calls Catholics to global solidarity walk for migrants. Pope has plugged the global solidarity walk for migrants and refugees, urging Catholics to participate in the pro-immigration event. Okay, well, there's nothing that is anti-immigration against the people that do not want 42,000 people that have not been properly vetted walking into our country. It has nothing to do with immigration and everything to do with safety and following proper immigration laws that protect Americans. That's not, the left would have us believe that, well, we're racist, we hate humanity, we don't care. They'll try to throw anything that they think is going to stick against the right. But that's not the case. It's not that we're anti-immigration. My gosh, I'm an immigrant. I'm not against immigration. I'm against improper immigration. I did everything properly. And I think that that is the only way to ensure the safety of Americans, to make sure these people are properly vetted. First of all, are they coming here to work, or are they coming here to disrupt? If they're coming here to work, okay. If they're going to pay taxes and call this their country and work to make this country better and safer, if they abide by our laws, if they, then great. But it takes a lot of work to vet these people. It really does. And you can't just, how do you properly vet a horde of 42,000 people? Literally. How do you do that? How do you have the resources for that? How do you house them? How do you feed them? How do you, I don't even know where these people are going to the bathroom, what they're eating. How the logistics of this is mind-boggling to me. but it most certainly has nothing to do with immigration, proper immigration. Anyway, now here's Donald Trump. Sadly, it looks like Mexico's police and military are unable to stop the caravan heading to the southern border of the United States. Criminals and unknown Middle Easterns are mixed in. I have alerted Border Patrol and military that this is a national emergency. Must change laws. And of course, in a national emergency, he can call up the military. And if this isn't a national emergency, then I don't know what is. All right. Now, Donald Trump, every time you see a caravan or people illegally coming or attempting to come into our country illegally, think of and blame the Democrats for not giving us the votes to change our pathetic immigration laws. Remember the midterms. So unfair to those who come in legally. And it is very unfair to those who come in legally. So, yeah. And now, again, they are attacking the 8chan board. So Lisa Mae Crowley says deep state assholes, is what she's saying, are at it again. They must be awfully nervous about something big dropping on 8chan before midterms, because here is 8chan on Twitter saying it's happening again. Breakfast with a side of DDoS. How butthurt can someone be? Well, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop the attacks on the 8chan board because they know that that is where Q posts, and they do not want Q communicating with anyone, really, but certainly not with Trump followers and people that would be, apt to vote against the Democrats, and they know what Q is. They know exactly what Q is. Some of them probably know who Q is. But anyway, let's move along and let's get to this. I can't remember what this is, but let's take a look. It'll be a surprise for all of us. Woohoo! All right. The caravan is now 12,000 strong and bringing over 1 million pounds of drugs. It's time to deploy the military. This from Deep State Exposed. And when you come down here, I think he has some more pictures here. They're getting onto trucks because, of course, none of us believed that they were walking. And none of us that have been to that area and know the mileage involved knew right away that, okay, they're not walking. Absolutely not. So, and down here, if you think that caravan can't bring in hundreds of thousands of pounds of drugs across a border, just look at the statistics. And I'm not going to get into that. We know that there's apt to be drugs that come in with them, along with all other sorts of things. But okay, now let's get away from here. Let me close some of this. Speed things up. All right, and let's go back to here. And let's see what this is. Yeah, okay. Current estimates are around 10,000. However, the South American group is expected to hook up with an organized group of approximately 40,000 Mexicans in the next few days and reach the U.S. border near election week with well over 50,000 people total. So this isn't getting better. It's getting incrementally worse. And I believe this will end up being one of the worst humanitarian crises ever. I really, honestly do. I pray I'm wrong. I really pray I'm wrong. But, and here's, the Mexican official says migration, security at stake in NAFTA talks. I think they're ticked off. I think they're ticked off about NAFTA, and I don't think that they're doing all they can to be stopping these people. Now, realistically, how do you stop 50,000 people? And without a border wall, how do you stop 50,000 people? Do we have enough people to stop 50,000 people? And you know what's going to happen if our military ends up firing on these people? That's not going to be pretty. But what do? Do we just let them walk over the border? I don't know. What is right in this situation? I know people are saying, oh, just open fire on them. You can't do that. You can't. Because, first of all, these people are being manipulated. So I understand if they're crossing the border illegally, but you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen if they start firing on these people, and then they show children that have been shot, and everybody's heart is going to go out to these people, and it's going to turn against Trump. But if Trump does nothing and these people just come over the border, I don't know. We can't have that either, because we don't know how many criminals. We don't even know how many of these are actually Mexican or Guatemalan or from South America. We don't know where these people are from or who they are, or if they're gang members or what. We don't know. That's the problem. So I don't know. I just don't see this having an easy resolution. Now, I think it's quite interesting that there is a Category 5 hurricane barreling down on these people. I think that that's very interesting, and I wonder if that has been, did they create this storm? You know that they have the means. We know that. They are able to, a certain point, create weather, steer weather. In fact, the U.S. has said that by the year 2020, they will own the weather. And if you doubt that, do a search, not on Google, because Google won't bring you the answer, but DuckDuckGo, owning the weather. There's an article about that. Anyway, there's lots about that if you want to look into it further. But let's go back here and take a look. Look at this about the hurricane. Intensifying Hurricane Willa headed directly towards 10,000 migrant caravan path. Of course, that caravan is not 10,000 anymore. But the hurricane is headed into the exact area where they are. Now, what's going to happen if you've got these people that are sleeping outside? I don't know. They're going to have to sleep somewhere. They're going to have to, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. In fact, it's interesting. I would love to hear from someone that's actually down there where these people are sleeping. How are they sleeping? Where are they going to the bathroom? Like if they're passing through small towns, you would think that they would be like a horde of locusts and just kind of eat up everything in the town and behind them. If you've ever seen actual locust swarms and what they do to crops, they come in and they just swarm in, and when they're gone, there's no landscape. It's completely desolate. They eat up everything in their way, and that's how I see with these huge caravans going into small towns that probably don't have the resources to support this many people. There's probably poop in the streets. There's probably, they're probably urinating in the streets. I don't know. Where are they changing their diapers? Where are they getting water? Where are they laying down? How are they able to control this crowd to not rape the few women that there are? Because there are only a few women and children. It is mostly men. And so how are the women staying safe in this? Because I know, reading different things about migrants, how almost all of them end up raped, and many of them end up dead too, that come across with the federales and so forth. It's just a foregone conclusion that the women are going to be raped. So what is happening to these women? I don't know. I really wish, I hope Sarah Carter really begins talking about what's really happening there, because we need to know. We really need to know. There's too many unanswered questions here. It doesn't make sense. There's a lot of this that doesn't make sense to me. And especially as somebody that has traipsed all over Central America, it doesn't make sense. I know what the conditions are like there, and there's a lot here. These do not look like the type of people that I ran into when I was there. These people look very well dressed and very well fed for the most part. So that's not always the case when you're in these countries and looking about. These people look like they're, some of the best. I've seen poverty like you would not believe in Honduras. Unbelievable poverty that would literally, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it because it's beyond what any of us would ever experience in our lifetime. Anyway, so I'm not going to get into all that, but there's a hurricane headed. Now, let's go here. President Trump declares national emergency. Mexico loses control of the migrant army. Well, surprise, surprise. We knew that. Excuse me, I have to scratch my nose again. I don't know why. I'm not lying. Usually that is, I always say that because I always pay attention to what people do with their nose, because a lot of times if people lie, they will scratch their nose. But anyway, that does not apply to me. I have a very itchy nose. So here we go. Now, this makes me angry, very angry. Grateful Hondurans paint swastika on U.S. flag, then torch it in support of illegal immigrant caravans. Well, isn't that nice? Two Honduran protesters painted a swastika on the U.S. flag and then torched it in support of the illegal immigrant caravans marching to the U.S. border. The protest was at the U.S. Embassy in Honduras in support of the illegal alien caravans. After years and years of globalist and democratic policies, our immigration system and borders are a complete joke. And isn't that true? I don't want flag burners here. Do you? If you can't respect the U.S. flag, and if you're going to call the president, they were calling President Trump Hitler and, burning the U.S. flag, painting swastikas. Sorry. Well, if you hate America, please stay out. Please stay out. We don't need any more people that hate America because there's enough Americans, actually American-born people that hate America. We had our last president hated America. We don't need any more. Stay home. Try to make your own countries. Do that to your own countries. They're upset because their countries are crap holes. I'm not going to say the word that Trump said, if he did in fact say it, which is, debatable, but their own countries are crap holes, so they want to come here and make this a crap hole too. It's like, hello, the whole reason you want to come to the States is because it isn't a crap hole. So why come and make it? Seriously. Anyway, let's go back. I know that this is going to be demonetized. I don't know. Anyway, here's Mark Dice. Donald Trump is the Antichrist and is going to hell, Central American immigrant from Caravan says. And Mark Dice says, and rightfully so, then turn around and go home. You don't have to come here. Why would you want to come to the States if it's, got the Antichrist running it? I'm just saying. All right. Eric Bowling. Thousands of reasons for patriotic, law-abiding Americans to vote in the upcoming November midterms. 6,000 reasons and growing by the hour. Actually, 50,000 reasons and growing by the hour. If this and future caravans of illegals are allowed to enter the U.S., we will be fundamentally changed forever. Donald J. Trump. Sadly, it looks like Mexico's police and military are unable to stop the caravan heading to the southern border of the United States. Criminals and unknown Middle Easterners are mixed in. I have alerted Border Patrol and military that this is a national emergency, must change laws. Yes, absolutely. So, what else do we have here? Finnish court rules sex with children is permitted. Finland's Supreme Court has ruled that sex with children as young as 10 is not rape if you come from a culture where sexual relations between adults and kids is normal. So, if you're Muslim and you believe that you can take child brides as young as 12 or younger, then there's no penalty for that because you're from a culture where that thinks it's okay. So I guess everything's relative now, right? You know, if you think it's okay, well, all right, then it's okay. We won't hold you accountable by law because, you know, whatever you think is all right, you just be your own God and make up the laws that you want to stick to, and let's just go with how we feel. Let's see how that works out for everybody. Let me know how that's turning out in about 10 years. Let me know, Finland, if that works for you, because I'm thinking it's not going to. But then, you know, maybe I have some morals, because anybody, I'm just going to say it, no matter how unpopular it is. Sex with a child is wrong. It is always wrong. It will always be wrong. And there is something bad wrong with you if you want to have sex with children. Can I put it any plainer than that? All right. Just so you know where I stand. Didn't want anybody confused. Now, I'm going to skip over that. And now, creepy Uncle Joe at Joe Biden just held a Vegas rally. Only 200 showed up. Obama's last rally, 700 showed up. Hillary's last rally, 75 showed up. Holder's Kick'em rally, 40 showed up. Pelosi's last rally, 30 showed up. This is why we don't believe fake news. Yeah, but how many people show up for Donald Trump? Well, if no matter how big a venue they get, he just packs it out. Packs it out. Yeah, but they say he's so unpopular. Everybody hates him. Yeah, okay. Now, I think I am going to actually cut it short there. Well, this is a good comparison here by James Wood. Obama convincing tens of people that he did it all while tens of thousands wait hours to hear the guy who actually did it all. That's the truth. There, look at his little paltry crowd looking very anemic and unexcited. They look like any minute they're going to fall over dead. I mean, literally, they just don't look very excited. And then look at Trump's crowd, you know, waving their banners, waving their American flags. They all wearing their Make America Great hats again. Yeah, he can pack out any place. But not according to the news. Very unpopular guy. Everybody hates him. Yeah. Well, that's it for tonight. I think that I'm going to stop there. Q has not posted. I am still waiting patiently and eagerly for him to post, as are you, I'm sure. And we will hopefully get to hear from him soon. I'm thinking that if he's not posting until after the midterm elections, that we'll hear from him directly after. But who knows? Who knows the mind of Q? I certainly don't. But anyway, I'm going to stop it there, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you guys, those of you that have supported me through either Patreon or through buying me a coffee every now and... Oops, I unplugged my own computer. I hate when that happens. Did it go dark on you all of a sudden? It went dark on me. Anyway, thank you guys for your support. I really appreciate it. I am still learning about Patreon, but I'm wanting to create value there for those of you that have supported me via Patreon. So that is my next to-do list, and I want to start having videos where we can have some more interaction, where I can see what you're asking and so forth, and have some more interaction with you all, because I think we have a good group here, and I think that we are a polite group for the most part. I don't see too many really saucy answers in the comments. So I think we do well with a chat like that, where we could chat back and forth. So anyway, that is coming up. I don't know how soon, but it is on my radar anyway. So you guys stay safe, stay blessed, and stay well, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. Good night.